The clock, as any other ideas, they come. They come in a certain situation that you kind of, you concentrate yourself, you align yourself with some kind of a topic. And I was doing a commission for Weimar. I was invited by Weimar for the year 2000 to make to create a work. Decided to do a house for Walter Benjamin. And Walter Benjamin was moving all the time, so he didn't need in this house too many things. So I thought something that was really about his thought. He always said, the past and the future don't exist, it's always now. And with the now we move. So it's always now. So there was time and there was the now. And how can you show the now with declaring the future and the past, but in a way move them to another space. And the clock came to me. It's a clock, but it's also something else. It is it's like something that gives you a relativity into time and to urgencies, and it has this graphical, so sometimes when it's 9 1/4, 3 1/4, it's a line. Sometimes it's a smile. Sometimes it's like eyes that are. So it gives you other kind of possibilities to think time yourself and an object that reminds you or not of something. So it keeps, I always say, if you manage to keep in a work the trigger alive, so it always triggers, I think you made it. So I think with the clock, with this double clock, that really informed me a lot about the urgency of dealing with the today all the time. I don't try to remember because I don't. It's magical. I don't remember. I'm now working on my archives and I remember everything. So I sit with my assistant and we look at photos, and I said, why do I remember all this detail? Well, the 8 years in Vilnius, it's just like nothing. I don't remember, but my body remembers. So every time I go where I was born, my body smiles without me understanding why it smiles. And then it stopped smiling, and then we come to another little street, and then I smile again. So memory is not only where we think it is. I decided to research my city of birth. And it was very interesting to go through because in each project of art I research what I'm doing. And so now I'm researching from where I'm coming and understanding that this city had so many people going through it from different places, both ways, from south to north, from east to west. And my photos in Vilnius is with my father walking in the street. So I decided that actually Vilnius is responsible for who I am. So Vilnius is actually responsible for me making double clocks, for me making all the works the way I do, like the monument that disappears or other things, because it's so nice to actually give a name to who actually makes it possible that you do what you do in life. Because it's wider, it's bigger. And Vilnius is now, for me, every time I go there, I have the feeling it's a new country, it's a young country. People look like they want to reinvent it or invent it. The energy is a little bit, reminds me a little bit of Israel too. So people, it's new, they want to do everything anew. And I like this energy. And they don't, they just do it, you know, they do a new place because maybe there is no old place or no access. Whatever it is, the energy is for a new place. Every time I have this, the same energy of renewal, of inventing, of inaugurating, of taking the responsibility of actually making something that will be for after, for, you know, But you still see some places that are in complete denial, or we call it ruins. But so there is these two words that are kind of calling you. So the dualities, I do feel dualities that are there too. My father is from Ignalina, and my mother is from Alitus. And my father was drafted to the Russian army, so he was in the Russian army during, and this is how he survived. Means he survived Hitler and Stalin and the rest. And my mother, it was the teacher. It was a famous story. The teacher that took the whole class and put it in a train and pushed them into Russia, into the east, and so they survived in the forest for all this time. And when she came back, and she found that her house is occupied by other people. And so we lived in Vilnius, but she never took us there. And when I was invited by the art school of Vilnius to teach, I asked them not to pay me, but to find the address of where my mother was living. I wanted to see where she was playing as a child. So we went there, and we didn't find the number. We looked, it's called the Detour Street. It has 30 numbers, and 25 was not there. And so I decided to photograph this space after 23, and I was photographing all the time. We were photographing again and again, an empty space with a well in it, and some kind of children's square. And only after the father of this young man that was helping me, Petras, said, no, 25 exists. So actually it was the house that we were photographing out of focus all the time, but they put the number 30 on it. So here comes the story of a house that disappeared but is there. So again, a certain duality in a reality that gives you kind of a whole possible story. The history of the Jewish people in Lithuania is a complicated one, and I wish Lithuania would face it and kind of deal with it and get over with it and include it in the reality, because if not, it will always be kind of moving and asking for attention. And I think for the young generation, every time I come, they want to interview me, they want to talk about it, they are interested, because it's part of their kind of tremble in life. And it's not easy to be a Jewish person and live with all the history that they teach you in school. Every time when you go in a higher class, they teach you more details about it. It's not fun to run around with it all the time, but this is a part of you, and you go around with it, and it continues today, and it will continue after, because this is how the order of the world is. I just got the passport of the Lithuanian passport by the ambassador here during COVID. They found me. And I thought it's not important what passport you have, but actually it did make a difference, kind of identity. And so sometime when I travel and I use it, I look at it again and again. It's pretty amazing. And it brings me into another kind of an identity that before was not really there at all. Some kind of, it was belonging to my parents more than me. And now it's like, it's widened. I have the feeling I'm wider, bigger. So for me, memory is like the embodiment of absent. It's just the opposite of what it is. It's empty. And this is an invitation for us, more or less, to invite whatever we want to invite. And it's always new and different from whatever it was. And that's why it is so creative and so fulfilling to deal with it, because you have to create it every time. The change is the most amazing thing. So when I was invited to do the monument against fascism together with my partner at the time. I said, monuments, I hate monuments. I want them all to disappear. And so we created the monument against fascism, that people were invited to sign their name against fascism, and the 12 meters column was, every time when it was filled up with signature, was lowered into the ground, into a shaft we created beforehand, saying that the monument cannot fight against fascism. It's us that have to do it. I do think if you want to deal with violent subject, that I think we have to, the art is not to depict violence. This is the condition I think that you need. For me, it's important to do that. If you need to do it, you have the obligation of not depicting it, because otherwise it's not art. The duality should be there, because then you are not dictating. Dictating is dictatorship. And if you leave the space in between, a place where we can decide what it is, and most of my work come out like that. They come out with several objects and several things. So it's not the one monolithic thing. There's always a tension that invites you to reflect your own personal kind of experience. I was invited by the city of Paris and the Memorial for the Shoah here how to show 60 years for liberating Auschwitz, and we interviewed 60 survivors. What I wanted to ask them was 3 questions. Is what did your life before the war, during the war, and after the war? Means you survived. You have it all. And the interview, I said to the 4 teams that interviewed them, is you let them speak as long as they want to speak, and it was up to 9 hours each, and there was no editing. And then I took only the silent part before they answer, and I made a video in a triptych of only the moment they are silent, after the question is there. What they lived through is nothing to do with words. And they give us a service of words. But they are there in the moment where they, through the questions, are re-emerging what happened and what was there before, during, and after. This work, I think, it's in a way surprised me too, but you needed the courage to kind of cut away their words. Whenever I have an idea, and this idea persisting and wants to be realized, I listen to the idea very well. So I learn listening. Like really, I ask the idea how to realize it. I cannot wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'll make a little drawing out of it, if it's not about drawing. If I would have done the clock in a drawing. So it is the idea that dictates. So it's a relief. You have the idea, you say, I succumb to you, my idea. Well, how to do you? When I wanted to be an artist, I wanted to be a sculptor. So I started to work with a sculptor, and I went to art school, and it was clear for me that, and then I discovered there's other ways to do sculptures. There's other ways to deal with it. So video photography installations are a different way of doing sculptures. So it's not necessary to all the time do what we call sculpture. This is what's so interesting with my life as an artist, as all my works are in different places, in Switzerland and in Germany, in France, in Canada, and United States, and now I'll have also a project in Lithuania, and it will be the museum, the City Museum of Vilnius, that is really for me a super treat to be a part of it, as it is a part of me. After researching the house where they're gonna put the museum in, that was a botanical garden. That I also like this story because the botanical garden is a place that is actually given the mandate to bring the foreign flowers, exotic ones, from into the local. And I like that. And I found there this little rose that looks so fragile. And actually, the rose itself is very fragile, but you cannot actually take it because it has so hard thorns. And this rose, when it was brought to Lithuania, was given a Lithuanian name and became Lithuanian. So I created this double rose as if there is a petal that is combined, these two flowers, that is not really natural because it doesn't exist, but I like the unnatural. It's the unnatural, it's the magical, it is the, if we check in the Bible, all the miracles, they are always exactly the opposite of nature. For me, it's like a miracle too. So it's like this double flower that has the need of having another flower that is almost a copy, but it's similarities. And that another thing that is the driver of all my works. It's like the magic of we are all different from each other. This is what we have in common. It's the differences. And I find it as the biggest lesson in my life that keeps me, let's say, even alive. I pretty much like to come to a place and again and again and again. And yeah, maybe Vilnius, I would like to come again to visit more and to see again and again. Maybe the memory will come and say, hello, it's here. I don't think so, but it's, it's an excursion.